There are things going on you would not believe.
The Institute is Stephen King's 74th book, his 60th novel, and his 53rd published novel. It's a sci-fi horror novel that was published on September 10, 2019 by Scribner. The story is about Luke Ellis, a 12-year-old boy with a high IQ who can move small things with his mind, but he doesn't pay attention to this ability. One day, he's abducted by murderous assailants after they kill his parents. When Luke awakens, he finds himself in his room, but in a different place called the Institute, a home to children with similar IQs who possess the ability of telekinesis. The book was met with incredibly positive reviews upon release, which is a common occurrence with Stephen King's books. Today, we're going to be dissecting the Institute in detail, and you don't want to miss that. But before we get into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to the channel. It's a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
There are things going on that you would not believe.
What is the Institute? Its purpose and design. The Institute is completely off the rails. It's a rogue place run by rogues. It's a torture house for genius children who, due to their sheer intelligence and brain power, have developed the power of telepathy. These children are then marked as targets by the Institute and abducted from their homes. Their typical modus operandi is to mark the target. For instance, when they marked 12-year-old Luke Ellis's home in a quiet neighborhood in the suburbs of Minneapolis, they knew he lived with his parents, so one day, in the dead of night, intruders snuck into his home, murdered his parents, his only guardians, and abducted Luke, speeding away in a black SUV. The operation was completed in less than 2 minutes. Luke now found himself at the dreaded Institute, in a room like his at home, except there were no windows. Outside his doors were other doors holding hostage other kids with similar special talents, such as his telekinesis and telepathy. Kalisha, George, Iris, Nick, and 10-year-old Avery Dixon were all brought here against their wishes, just like Luke. They all belonged to the front half. Others were sent to the back half. As per Kalisha's explanation to Luke, the Institute worked based on the Roach Motel idea. You check in, but you don't check out. You'll want to know what the front and back halves of the Institute are. Fresh residents, like Luke, occupy the front half. Experiments, read torture, are performed on them by giving them electric shocks and injections to expedite and enhance their telepathic abilities. Once the experiments are over and the child is juiced out of their TP abilities, they graduate to the back half, which is technically disappearance. The Institute has a director, the evil Mrs. Sigsbee, reminding us of the wicked Aunt Lydia from The Handmaid's Tale. Mrs. Sigsbee, along with her battalion of merciless staff, imparts torture on these children to extract their extraordinary gifts. They don't compromise or fuss with the children. The rule is simple. If you cooperate, you'll get tokens to access the vending machines, and if you don't, then there's punishment, and it's brutal. As days pass, victims are relegated to the back half, making Luke increasingly anxious to escape and get help. But, as Kalisha says, there's no escape from the Institute.
The conductor is the only one who stays present.
Never been much for giving myself up.
Why does the Institute prey on these children? What purpose does it serve? Their reasons seemed utilitarian, but it isn't. They're using the children's mental abilities to protect the world by preventing large-scale disasters such as wars and terrorist attacks before they can happen. They believe that they're acting for the greater good of humanity, using children with psychic abilities, mainly telekinesis and telepathy, as tools to assassinate individuals who might one day become threats. Killing people who might one day become threats. Imagine erecting a torture cell on a mere hunch. They're not even sure. And for that, they want to use innocent children, which leaves us feeling disgusted. The layout of the Institute is the usual, closed and secretive to cover the sinister workings of the troupe. The design reflects the oppressive and insensitive nature of the organization. It consists of the front half, the back half, the staff quarters, the control room, and the main gate. The layout is reminiscent of the prison from Stephen King's earlier work, The Shawshank Redemption. The front half, as mentioned before, houses the children, such as Luke, who have been brought to test their telepathic abilities. It houses the dormitory for children, who are individuals displaying a lack of apathy. The children are then taken to spaces as big as a classroom where they're given intelligence or psychic-related tests. Then, there's the torture chamber, better known as the medical labs and examination rooms, where experiments are conducted on the children, and here they're also given injections. The front half thankfully has common areas where kids can interact, a TV room and a game room. there's a mess hall where the children have their meals. The security control constantly monitors the movements of the children. The atmosphere is like that of a creepy fake school that's dangerously calm. Imagine children without the laughter and mischief. The back half houses the death destination for children whose abilities have been extracted. Their abilities will be collected and used on others to weaponize them. This half of the Institute has restricted access and heavy security. Children are lodged in individual pods with no contact with anyone. The children are connected psychically. Pneumatic tubes and wires are used to link the kids' minds to each other and external targets. Once the child's abilities have been extracted to their maximum potential, they're killed. The other key locations are the main gate and exterior fence. The Institute is isolated in the main woods with thick walls, security gates, and guard towers. It's completely cut off from the outside world. The staff quarters houses the villains, Mrs. Sigsbee and her troop of guards and scientists. The Institute also houses the maintenance and utility areas that have tunnels and passages, providing potential escape routes. It's also the place where children are transported from point A to point B. Remember the tunnel-like basement in Squid Games?
Being here.
My parents? Do they know where I am? Are they alive?
Of course. We're not monsters.
Origins and history of the Institute. The origins of Stephen King's Institute are deliberately vague, but key details are revealed as the story unfolds, giving insight into how it started and why. The Institute was created by a secret government or paragovernmental group that thinks of itself as staunchly patriotic. Being a parallel government, the Institute wasn't founded by any official branch of the US government, but rather by a shadowy high-level organization operating in secrecy. It's likely connected to intelligence agencies or defense networks used to carry out the government's dirty work, possibly dating back to the Cold War. The true nature of the group is never fully explained, but it has immense global reach and appears to work outside any legal or ethical oversight. Their mission reflects the rationale behind the Institute, which resembles classic Cold War paranoia. They need to control future threats before they arise. The development of psychic weaponry mirrors real-world historical projects like MK-Ultra, where the US government experimented with mind control and psychic phenomena. There are hints that psychic abilities were being noticed and studied decades ago, leading to the eventual formation of the Institute to harness these abilities for national and later global security. Their mission may have drifted over time from being a covert research agency studying the effects of psychic phenomena into that of an action-oriented agency, where they realized a way to eliminate future threats through targeted assassination. This would have been done through global manipulation using children's psychic abilities. While there's no formal founder to this institute, its leader, Mrs. Sigsbee, believes that they are serving the greater good, but their methods are unethical and cruel. What purpose did the Institute serve for the kidnapped children? They first identified future threats decades in advance through analysis and predictive algorithms. Then, they used the children with telepathic and telekinetic powers to push people's decisions or even kill them mentally, often individuals who might one day cause war, genocide, or terrorism. Finally, the Institute weaponized children's powers to preemptively neutralize threats before they emerged. Near the end of the book, it's revealed that other facilities like the Institute exist around the world, suggesting a global network. These institutes may collaborate or operate in parallel, all with the shared goal of manipulating future global outcomes. Life inside the Institute. If hell had a formal name, it would be the Institute. What else can be expected of life in a place where children have been abducted and their loved ones have been murdered? It's trauma on a whole different level. These children are almost like little robots moving around, controlled by an external source, and that external source is definitely not godly. On the surface, it may appear structured and even normal at first, but underneath, it's a brutal system of control, manipulation, and exploitation. Let's take a second to break down what life in the Institute actually looks like for these children.
What's happening here? Where are we?
Welcome to the Institute.
Arrival and orientation. Front half. Once kidnapped, the children wake up in a room almost identical to their own, but inside the Institute. This immediately disorients them. They're given no real information about where they are, why they've been taken, or what's going to happen. They're then subjected to tests and procedures almost immediately, since Mrs. Sigsbee and her team don't want to lose any valuable time with a potent child's brain. Within days or even hours, they're subjected to painful medical procedures, injections, electric shocks, and psychological testing. ostensibly to enhance their telepathic and telekinetic abilities. The children are in constant fear. The staff maintains control through violence, psychological punishment, and threats. Disobedience leads to punishment, or worse, being sent to the back half. Daily routine in the front half was a militarized routine. Children have strict routines with designated times for meals, testing, exercise, and rest. While they have the freedom to move about their dorm rooms, the cafeteria, the rec room, the TV gaming area, and the classrooms, all of it is within the limits of the surveillance perimeter. The atmosphere is that of a prison. The children bear a lackluster look as a sterile, cold, and emotionless setting overshadows their innocence. The only comfort in this strict surrounding is that the kids have each other with whom they can talk and bond, forming friendships and alliances. This gives them some comfort, which becomes the key to their eventual resistance, but none of the kids are in their element due to the constant fear of being the next one to be sent to the back half. Life in the back half is far more restricted, and it's a place of no return. It's a sacrificial cell where the collective telepathic powers of the children who are already spent forces are used as weapons, using their mind by creating a psychic circuit. Their minds are used to remotely kill or influence people the Institute deems future threats. It's natural. This kind of morbid atmosphere leads to the physical and mental collapse of the children. We shudder to say that the children don't naturally follow the rules until they're tamed. All sorts of methods are used to control them. The staff uses violence, isolation, and psychological torture to maintain obedience. They're promised fake rewards if they obey. These rewards include minor incentives like snacks, screen time, and minor privileges. If they refuse, they're sent to the punishment rooms, where they're kept in isolation, given electroshocks and other punishments so that a precedent is set for rebellious children. It's cruel and dehumanizing, and that's the point.
Okay, I'm shutting it down. I didn't expect him to see.
Psychological toll. Most children feel helpless and terrified, but some hold on to hope and fight back. Despite the horror, many kids form deep emotional bonds which become vital to their survival. The place hampers their morals since children are forced to reconcile their sense of right and wrong with the horrors they witness or are forced to participate in. Luke Ellis, the boy who fought back. Luke is a 12-year-old genius who was accepted to both MIT and Emerson College despite his age, showcasing an intellect that's extraordinary even by prodigy standards. He's emotionally grounded and socially adept, unaware of what a genius he was, and he enjoys the life of a normal kid. Imagine a prodigy like him skateboarding in the neighborhood and at the same time being a scholastic superstar. Despite his superintelligence, Luke is humble and empathetic, and it's no wonder that he easily built strong bonds with the other inmates of the front half. He was quick to attract a little gang, namely Kalisha, George, Nick, Iris, and the 10-year-old Avery Dixon to himself. Luke, like most, was brought to the Institute after the intruders killed his parents and abducted him. When he awoke in his room, he was stunned to see his room in a different environment. He could feel the disconnect from his world. He suddenly had no guardians except victims like him who were now his friends. A certain sense of contemplation overcame Luke while living in the front half, where children were made guinea pigs for numerous medical experiments, including injections and electric shocks, to heighten their psychic abilities before they were transported to yet another torture cell in the back half. What was different with Luke's initial telekinetic abilities was that they were modest, shifting pizza pans or rattling dishes when emotionally charged. Still, he was subjected to the Institute's focused experiments, and he began developing telepathic abilities as well, though he kept those a secret, knowing the stakes were life and death. Luke's survival depended on keeping his progress a secret because his intelligence was layered in his humility and the normal childhood he had, unlike the other genius kids who were probably put on a pedestal in their pre-Institute days for their high IQ. In our opinion, Luke had an edge over the other kids due to his upbringing. His parents treated him as a normal kid, and therefore, his defense in the Institute was higher than the rest. His intelligence, and more importantly, his awareness, became his weapons. Luke instinctively assumes a leadership role among the front half children, earning their loyalty and trust through empathy and courage. He finds kinship in Avery, the 10-year-old mind reader whose raw power complements his intellect. He becomes key to their plan to escape and dismantle the Institute's structure. What also works for Luke is how he forges a relationship with the Institute's housekeeper, Maureen Alverson, who was Sigsbee's hardcore informant. He breaks her and obtains information on his escape route. Outside the Institute, Luke allies with Tim Jameson, the ex-cop and moral compass of the novel, offering him video evidence and emotional testimony that turns Tim into an ally in seeking justice. His strengths lie in his unmatched intelligence, strong moral center, emotional maturity, and adaptability under pressure, a potent mix for a child in dire circumstances. Luke embodies King's recurring faith in children, innocent yet incredibly powerful when pushed, and when abused, we see society's darkest side play out. His journey highlights core themes of power versus ethics. The Institute claims it kidnaps and experiments for the greater good, but Luke forces readers to ask whether any justification truly offsets the suffering involved. The ambiguity at the story's end, whether Luke and Avery's actions were worth the moral compromises, echoes King's call for readers to question what society will sacrifice under the guise of safety. The Great Escape and Final Confrontation. The Escape Plan. While Luke was formulating his escape plan to find help from outside for the rest of the kids, he learns from Maureen that no one who goes to the back half ever returns. With Avery Dixon's powerful mind and Kalicia's telepathic messages from the back half, Luke pieces together that the facility is weaponizing children as living psychic batteries and assassins. Maureen, who was in dire need of financial help, secretly provided Luke with a paring knife and details about a weak spot under the fence. She becomes his reluctant ally. Luke then sets out to put his plan into action. Luke digs under the fence at night and removes the tracker from his ear using the knife. He navigates through the staff housing area, following a scarf Maureen left to guide him, and reaches a small boat nicknamed the SS Pokey and paddles to a nearby river. To avoid detection, Luke boards a freight train, hides in a boxcar, and drifts south towards South Carolina. Security at the Institute is markedly lax, largely due to funding cuts and complacency, so it takes nearly 24 hours before the staff realizes Luke has disappeared. As the train nears Dupree, South Carolina, Luke jumps off and encounters Tim Jameson, a former cop turned town watchman. Initially skeptical, Tim is eventually convinced when Luke provides Maureen's USB drive. It contains her confession and covert footage from the back half. Final showdown and Institute collapse. Meanwhile, the Institute agents arrive in Dupree to retrieve Luke. A shootout ensues, many deputies die, but Tim and the survivors capture Mrs. Sigsbee and the Institute's director. Back in the back half, the children who were left behind, including Avery, mount a telepathic rebellion. They combine forces to levitate parts of the building, triggering a structural collapse. Some children, including Avery, Iris, and Helen, sacrifice themselves in the process to allow their friends to escape. The collapse of the Institute. After Luke reaches Dupree, he forges alliances with the children in the back half, most notably Avery Dixon, Iris, Kalicia, Nick, George, and Helen. They band together. These children, some mentally broken from prolonged psychic exploitation, plan a revolt to seize their freedom and sabotage the Institute's operations. When the Institute's second-in-command, Stackhouse, orders the use of poison gas to suppress the rebellion, the children respond dramatically. Linking hands and minds, they unleash their combined psychic power to levitate entire sections of the facility telekinetically. The revolt escalates disastrously. As the floating floors shift and subsiding ceilings buckle, structural collapse ensues. While Kalicia, Nick, George, and Helen manage to escape, Avery, along with Iris and many others, don't hesitate as the corridors crumble, taking with them these brave children. As the chaos unfolds, the building groans and shudders. Walls tilt, stairwells twist, and ceilings rip free, turning the facility into a destructive nightmare zone. With the facility in ruins, the surviving staff flee or are killed. Tim brings Luke and the remaining children back to Dupree. In a final confrontation, the Institute's supervisor, in the novel dubbed Mr. Smith, reveals that similar revolts happened simultaneously across other Global Institute facilities, apparently coordinated telepathically by Avery Dixon. But Luke challenges the Institute's logic, calling out their morals and flawed assumptions about future prediction accuracy. While others return home, Luke stays in Dupree with Tim and Deputy Wendy Gullickson, marked forever changed by events and bearing Avery's sacrifice as a constant memory. Meanwhile, the remaining children each hold a key to a safe deposit box storing the USB containing Maureen's confession and video from the back half, an insurance policy should they be silenced. Avery and the Psychic Future. Avery, albeit unwillingly, joins the Institute at age 10 as a highly gifted telepath, possibly the strongest among the front half children. He forms a deep bond with Luke and Kalicia, becoming a critical voice in the psychic network they construct. When kids start disappearing into the back half, Avery maintains mental communication with them through Kalisha's emerging dreams. After covertly aiding in Luke's escape, Avery is punished. Julia Sigsbee assigns him to the immersion tank and then ships him to the back half, despite Dr. Hendricks worrying that he's too powerful and may become uncontrollable. Crucially, the staff neglected to administer pace-limiting injections, which were normally given to experimental subjects. As a result, Avery's abilities intensify beyond expectations. Within the back half, Avery rallies the children, including the mentally broken Gorks in Ward A. Together, they channel immense power. Avery's intensified TP skills enable them to launch a coordinated revolt. At a critical moment, they telekinetically lift parts of the Institute building, causing it to collapse. While many of the children, including Kalisha, George, Helen, and Nick, escape, Avery and many others, including Iris, perish in the resulting destruction. The collapse wasn't isolated. The Institute's global facilities allegedly fell simultaneously. Apparently, this was telepathically coordinated by Avery's precognitive reach. Avery's sacrifice becomes the emotional and moral fulcrum of the story. Luke later reflects that Avery was the real hero of their tale, ensuring the others could live free. Connections to the Stephen King universe, Easter eggs, and crossovers. Readers felt that the Institute shared many similarities with Stephen King's other novels, including The Shop and Firestarter, where the Shop is a covert government organization that experiments on people to awaken pyrokinetic and telepathic powers via a drug called Lot 6. Multiple sources describe the Institute as a thematic successor to The Shop. Both exploit children with psychic gifts in secret facilities under the guise of serving the greater good. The Psychic Children, Carrie, Dr. Sleep, and the Institute. Carrie introduces telekinesis in a child and voices the idea that isolating the TK gene should become a medical priority, a concept echoed in the Institute where gifted kids are monitored and controlled. Dr. Sleep, the sequel to The Shining, explores the psychic gift known as the Shine, which aligns with the TP/TK abilities of the Institute's children. Both works emphasize children burdened by extraordinary power. It and the broader King verse. It shares the setting and cosmic scale of many of King's interconnected novels. Characters and events in It overlap with others like The Stand or The Dead Zone, illustrating King's multiverse approach. While the Institute doesn't reference Pennywise or Derry, it does evoke similar themes, especially the exploration of children with psychic abilities under moral threat. Marvelous verdict. While many have drawn parallels between King's The Institute and his other novels, in our opinion, The Institute felt like a mishmash of King's Shawshank Redemption, where the climax saw the character of Tim Robbins escape from prison much like Luke, and it also contained a healthy dose of Squid Games. The character of Avery reminded us of the character of Eleven, played by Millie Bobby Brown in Stranger Things. However, Stephen King, being the king of storytelling, presents The Institute in his eclectic style, keeping it as thrilling as it can be. Like most fans, it hit us hard when Avery sacrificed himself for the other kids. In our opinion, and Luke's, he's the real hero of the story. But we also believe that without Luke's push, Avery would have never realized the extent of his powers. The Institute was adapted into a TV series which premiered on MGM Plus on July 13th, 2025. In this adaptation, Luke is aged up to 14 and portrayed by Joe Freeman, who's been praised for bringing charm, smarts, vulnerability, and defiance to the role. The series stays largely faithful to the novel and is endorsed by King, though some critics argue it lacks the emotional nuance and storytelling richness the book offered. Unfortunately, that's all we got for you this time, but if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Otherwise, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day. That's all we got for you this time, but if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Otherwise, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous night.